Hello everybody, welcome to Full Force, and this time we're gonna go back to Blue-Green Merfolk and not try and revel in any more riches. That didn't work out too well last time, and thankfully, we have one of the best Merfolk that you could possibly get. Waker of the Wilds is nuts. So we're gonna slam Waker of the Wilds and be pretty happy about it. We might be able to wheel, like Headwater Sentries. There's nothing too great. Run aground is fine. Prosperous Pirates is good, but it won't come back, that's the thing. Alright, in any case, I mean, I'm very happy taking a Waker. This is a good spot to start. It's a slower card, which does make it not as powerful as it might seem on the surface in this format. But, I mean, if you're evaluating it properly anyways. I've seen people say that this card wasn't very good, which is, I think, insane. This card is absolutely nuts. If you can untap with it, it just gets you unbelievable value, and you can consistently do that turn after turn after turn. Every turn that it stays alive is just another turn that you're almost guaranteed a victory. Like, I imagine the first time that you untap with it, even if you're a little bit behind, you probably go to like 50% win at least, and then you go to like 60, 80, 90, like it just keeps going up and up and up every single turn that you untap with it. Shapers of Nature, it's a very good one to follow up with. Works the +1/+1 counters on Waker of the Wilds. Not that anything needs to work with Waker of the Wilds. Like, what works with Waker of the Wilds is generally just Waker of the Wilds. It'll win the game on its own. Shaper can do the same thing, though. Shaper is a bit of a slower Waker of the Wilds, not as fast to take over a game, but it does have a lot of potential to just stick around and grind out a win. Which is a little bit weird in this format, because we do talk a little bit about like Merfolk. Some of the best Merfolk decks that I've had personally have been with things with a bunch of River Sneaks and River Herald's boons, and then just going to town on my opponent long before they can ever recover. Just get some unblockable creatures, pump them up fast, and smash through. And that might still be the case, so these might not be as strong as they seem. They still won't be bad. They're incredible cards. Stormfleet Aerialist. Not a Merfolk, but I mean, it is in our colors. We're not going to be able to take any Merfolk here. There just aren't any. Opt, I'm not particularly excited by. This is a card that's very good and constructed because your deck is consistent. In Limited, where your deck doesn't have the consistency, it's not Cube. Cube is very different. Cards like this in Cube are great, but Cube is almost like a constructed draft. It's weird. Opt just... There's a good chance you're just going to hit lands, and I mean, it's fine, but I'm not actively seeking it out. It's a card in your deck that doesn't actually do anything. It lets you look at other cards in your deck, which can be good, but it is also a little bit of slow. You have to take some time off to do that. I think I take the Pounce. We're not going to have big creatures, but you can still probably pounce some things. Ravenous Daggertooth. Nice little way to get enraged with Pounce. Probably dies if we try and pounce anything, but it's also just kind of a decent card. 3/2 for 3 is fine, and it has a little bit of an ability. Not much of one, but a little bit. No Merfolk coming around, which is scary. I noticed too, I just realized, I joined a competitive single elimination draft league today, so clock's a ticking today. I've got to really step up my game to be able to win this one out. We got to get that 3-0. Don't want to 0-1 and scrub out in front of everybody. Especially not when we start out with Waker and Shapers. Although we are forcing an archetype, there's a good chance that we can just totally scrub out no matter what we get as our first couple picks. I'm really hoping that these last couple packs have just been dry for other reasons, and it's not that Merfolk is totally cut, or green-blue anyways. Wow. Alright. There are some good cards here. Prosperous Pirates I do like quite a bit, but Blossom Dryad I think is just way better. We don't have any 5s. We've got a lot of 3s. I need some 2-drops. There's no good 2-drops here. Old Growth Dryads is... I don't know. I feel like maybe... I love when LSV talked about this because I felt exactly the same way. He nailed the feeling on it. I feel like this card's awful, and I don't know if that makes me an idiot or a genius. Because, like, It's one or the other. This card will win you a game or lose you a game, and it just feels like such a gamble. I'm going to take the Blossom Dryad, and we can go for later cards afterwards. Ooh, Marauding Looter is sweet. Really like the Marauding Looter. Grazing Whiptail helps us block flyers. Should maybe take that, but like the option to splash a pirate that's this powerful is so tempting. Marauding Looter is just absolutely nuts. I'm gonna have a little bit of a hard time with flyers in the Merfolk deck most of the time. There are some flying Merfolk, but they're not particularly great. Like there's the 5 mana 3/3, but that card's just okay at best. It doesn't stop like the Aerosaur and Grazing Whiptail does. I'll take the Looter this early and we'll see what happens. Crushing Canopy. Last time that we played, we really needed Crushing Canopy over and over and over and over, so I'm going to slam it here. Just be happy enough. Spike-tailed Ceratops is fine, but I feel like we want to have at least one Crushing Canopy. I felt so punished for not getting it last time. It was something that if you haven't seen the last Full Force video, every match I was like, if we had one Crushing Canopy, I'd feel so much better here. Like, we would have an out to what's happening to us over and over. We were getting killed by flyers and enchantments. And I just think Crushing Canopy is something that we really want to have. Prosperous Pirates is still here. Headwater Sentries is as well. I need to have... the Merfolk is something that I need to take, but Prosperous Pirates is good. So I don't know which one I want more. Wow, this is a tough choice. I mean, obviously I think that normally it's Prosperous Pirates, but if I'm going to try and force Merfolk, I might actually need this for things like River Herald's Boon. I'm going to take the Pirates. I know it's a little bit against our code. I broke the full force code to do it, but I have to. I really need to prosper. How can I turn down all that booty? Alright, let's grab this Blinding Fog. I'm not really going to care about any of these. Alright, Op did not get taken. Sure. That's fine. Favorable wins and cancel. We'll take the cancel. I'm pretty unlikely to have a lot of flyers. We haven't had any yet. Blue has not been particularly open, although we did wheel the Prosperous Pirates. There was a lot of good cards in that pack. I wouldn't be surprised if a pirate deck took the 2-1 for 2 instead. Duress. A card that people seem to keep overrating. I had this chat a lot with actual Twitch chat over and over and over, where I don't like Duress. I really don't like Duress. The card just feels awful. You have to be so lucky to have it in your hand, and then also have your opponent have their thing that you want to Duress in their hand. And it just, ugh. You need so many things to come together properly for Duress to be played, even out of the sideboard. A lot of people will say, oh, well, like, you play it when your opponent has something that you absolutely have to get rid of, and you don't have any other way to get rid of it. But at the same time, you get the argument that, oh, well, like, would you run a Demystify if they have a Mark of the Vampire that you can't deal with otherwise and it's been killing you? And people would go like, well, I mean, one mark? No. Why would you do that? Like, the odds that you actually have Demystify when you need it. Well, I mean, Duress is even worse. You don't even get to know when you need it. You just have to guess. That's just really awful. So I don't know. For me, not a huge fan of Duress. Now we have Deeproot Warrior, which is great. Deeproot Warrior is awesome. We need some 2-drops. It's a good Merfolk. But that's an entrancing melody, and I kind of feel like I just need to steal some critters, so let's entrance. I'm really sad to pass this Deeproot Warrior, though. Sailor of Means wouldn't be bad either. Our deck's looking a little bit slower, and we have ways to get a lot of value if we go a little slower with the Waker and the Shapers, and honestly, Marauding Looter, too. Marauding Looter is great late in the game. So let's go Entrancing Melody. Like, the longer the game goes, the more value you get out of this kind of an effect. It's pretty obvious, but just pointing it out. Okay. I did it once. Doing it again seems like a bad idea. Especially considering we don't actually have any ways to make treasures beyond the one Prosperous Pirates. Dive Down is kind of cool. It's a decent enough combat trick sometimes. Stormfleet Arsonist is okay. Spike-tailed Ceratops is okay. There's a lot of okay things here, but nothing great. I do not need another Unknown Shores. I'm not even sure that I want this one. It's mostly if I manage to play the Marauding Looter. I guess I'll take Spike-tailed and be happy enough. We need 2 drops. Where are they? I feel like everybody else knows that that's exactly the kind of Merfolk deck that you should be drafting and maybe be grabbing all of them early, like all the River Sneaks and River Herald's Boons and the early Merfolk like that, the Deeproot Warrior, are just getting snapped up way too fast for us to see them. Because that's twice now that we've been trying to do this deck and we just haven't been seeing the Merfolk. They're very popular, it seems. Siren's Ruse. Not something I particularly want. I could take a second Crushing Canopy. I don't actually think that's a terrible idea. 2 Crushing Canopy is probably pretty reasonable. Like, I'm not afraid to main deck 1. Having a second one out of the sideboard would be really good, at the very least. We already have Opt if I want to run it. I'll take a second Crushing Canopy. Contract Killing is easily the best card here, right? Well, Sheltering Light's quite good. Sheltering Light is very good, but Contract Killing's great. So probably Contract, maybe Sheltering Light. If you were white and green or something, and you just didn't really want to play Contract Killing because you weren't in those colors, I can totally see taking Sheltering Light. If I wasn't on a Full Force episode, I'd probably switch and just slam that Contract Killing, end up going green-black. I could probably splash the Shapers if I went green-black. Verdant Rebirth, that's not interesting. Another Daggertooth, another Blossom Dryad. Blossom Dryad number 2 would be pretty good because we've got a really slow deck right now. So let's grab another Blossom. That Unfriendly Fire might have been the pick too. I mean, we need to have some kind of removal. We don't have any yet. And I am trying to splash red for Marauding Looter, so maybe I should have given that Unfriendly Fire a little bit more thought. If I could go back, maybe I would have taken it. Wild Growth Walker. I don't have a lot of Explore right now. There's quite a bit of Explore in the blue-green, but I mean, I don't have any yet. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't take it, though. I just need 2 drops. A 1/3 2-drop is probably fine just on its own anyways. Alright, let's grab the Wild Growth and be happy enough with it. We cannot take Arcane Adaptation. We could make a bunch of Merfolks out of it. I don't think it's worth the card. Just 0 Merfolk again. I kind of like these as Full Force because it's really showing just how popular I think this archetype is, because it is just getting cut instantly. Stormfleet and Headwater. I mean, this time we even got like Waker into Shapers and it just has not come together at all. Stormfleet Pyromancer is very solid and definitely worth a splash. I'm gonna take the Headwater though. I wouldn't mind having at least one like big butt kind of creature like this. And it is a Merfolk. It fits into our archetype. I'm not entirely certain that I can splash the red. I don't have a lot of fixing. I have the Unknown Shores, but not a lot of treasure, just the Prosperous Pirates, so it seems like a good idea. I will take the Sleek Schooner. Cancel Brazen Buccaneers. We'll just take another cancel, keep cutting our color. Hopefully somebody will catch on. We'll start getting them Merfolk. I need fishies. Just gotta swim forever. Another Marauding Looter. I mean, it's another 4-drop. We are really top heavy. Very, very top heavy, but it's hard to pass that. It feels like a gift. I've got another Ravenous Daggertooth here, but I have a lot of 3s. I'm going to take the Marauding Looter and we'll see what happens. Prying Blade, Sentinel Totem. Another Revel in Riches again. It wheeled! It's a sign. We'll take the Prying Blade this time, though. I don't know what I want to open. Let's get like a bunch of Deeproot Warriors in a row. Deeproot Warriors and Rivers Boons. Maybe some... I could use some of the River Sneaks. River Sneak would be good. T'Challa's Wanderer, or whatever, the 3-drop Explorer Merfolk, is probably a card that I really want, but I mean, at this point, I have so many threes. I really would rather take a 2-drop over it. This is one of those times where if I find a Merfolk versus a Pirate, 3 versus 2, probably just have to go with a 2, even if it's a Pirate, not a Merfolk. I know, I'm killing the whole point of it, but I really want to try and win, too. And this seems like it's going to be tough. Cobbled Wings. Last time we didn't put them in, and I might have wanted to, but this time we also have double Crushing Canopy. Well, triple Crushing Canopy, actually, so a lot less likely to just die to flyers. Last time, pretty much every match was determined by the fact that we just had 0 flying blockers. We constantly got killed by them. Rummaging Goblin, and hope for some very, very good pickups in this pack. Like we haven't seen yet. Deadeye Plunderers, very good cards. Shapers of Nature, ooh, I like Shapers. Ixalan's Keeper, it is a 2-drop, but it's also a human. It's also not super interesting. Savage Stomp is kind of cool. Savage Stomp is really cool. Like, making it cost 1 is awesome, but it costing 3 is certainly not bad. And the +1/+1 counters matter a lot to the Merfolk deck. Things like Shapers really like using them. I'm just going to take Shapers, though. Shapers is too cool. Now, man, nothing for 2 that I want. Just nothing. I could take the Siren Lookout. There's another Headwater Sentries, but the odds that doesn't wheel are pretty low. Colossal Dreadmaw would be good top end, but I kind of have a lot of top end. I could use like one other thing on the top end, but I just really want to solidify my bottom first. I'm more of a bottom than a top, is I think what I'm saying here. Just trying to put that out there. Siren Lookout or Colossal Dreadmaw. I'm going to take the Siren. Don't have any flying blockers. It has the +1/+1 counter synergy with things like Shapers. It's got the Explore synergy with Wild Growth Walker. I'm hoping that I can find some more top end later, and I already have some decent stuff. Alright, Perilous Voyage. There we go. It's not a 2-drop creature, but at least it's something that we can do for 2 mana. And it's a pretty good card. A Keepers, a Pirates, and a bunch of black-white cards that are all really, really, really good. Wow. Ixalan's Binding, Wanted Scoundrels, and Contract Killing. We are in the wrong colors. Let's take, I have to take the Keeper. Just 2s are better than 5s at this point. Depths of Desire. Sure. Like, my ideal deck, I think, for Blue-Green Merfolk would have a lot more Depths of Desire and like evasive early creatures with River Herald's Boon, but that ship I think has sailed. In any case, Depths is still good enough. I could take the Goring Ceratops. It's a pretty sweet card. Very expensive though. That effect is huge. Shipwreck Looter. There's a 2. And third Blossom Dryad. I don't need a third one, I don't think. Shipwreck Looter seems like something I need to have. Just need 2-drops. Shorekeeper, fine. Get a nice Trilobite. Don't worry. These things are all fossilized, and I feel like we're about to be fossils. Very soon. This deck is not where I wanted it to be. Problem is that it has... like... So my issue with this deck is not even that it doesn't have a lot of Merfolk, which it doesn't. I'm going to take the Windstrider. But it's more the problem of very little removal, and that's not necessarily an issue for Merfolk a lot of the time. Like, this deck does have powerful cards. It's got Waker the Wilds, 2 Shapers of Nature, and 2 Marauding Looters. That's kind of awesome. But its big downside is that it doesn't have removal, and unlike the Merfolk deck that I want to build that I can't seem to get because I think everybody else is just taking it before I see it, is it doesn't have the tempo to cover for that. So if you're not going to go with some kind of removal, the way that you deal with your opponent's creatures is through tempo. You're going to want to be able to deal with them before they can kill you. And you can do that by, I mean, combat tricks is another way that you can do that, but that's a little bit like tempo. And what you're just trying to do is keep the lead and stay there and just race them back and forth. And things like Depths of Desire, having the River Herald's Boon as a combat trick, having unblockable creatures, and early unblockable creatures are things that are going to really break that kind of a game open and let you win it despite not having removal. Because even if they play, like, for our deck right now as an example, let's say that we come across a very similar list to ours, but that happens to have, say, instead of double Marauding Looter, it's splashing for Unfriendly Fire. And so it's got, like, you know, a couple less of these, a couple of Grazing Whiptails instead of Looters, and then a couple of Unfriendly Fires. That deck is going to destroy us because of the fact that I will play Awaker of the Wilds, they'll play Awaker of the Wilds, I won't be able to do anything about theirs, they will be able to do something about mine. And that's where it just causes problems. My deck is designed to go slow here, and that's fine, but it has to have then an answer to an opponent's opposing bombs of one kind or another. Either our bomb needs to be able to deal with their bombs, which maybe Waker of the Wilds can because it can go over the top of some other bombs, but it generally, like, it means removal. You need to be able to kill their bomb, and we just don't have a way to do that. We can return it to their hand, but if we were behind it all when that first happened, it's just not going to make a difference. It's just going to buy us a turn, and then we're going to be back in the same position. We're going to die. And because the game's going long, the odds that they see their bombs, they're really big, nasty creatures that we can't deal with, goes up and up and up and up. So, I don't like that. Like, if you're going really, really fast, the odds that they find their bomb before you kill them, or that they find their bomb before it even matters, is a big difference, right? Like, you can slam a Waker of the Wilds, but if you're at 3, you're probably not going to be able to untap and win with it. You're probably just going to die anyways. Or at least you have a decent chance of coming back into the game like that. Like, you're going to be able to get over that bomb because they don't have enough life left to deal with. In any case, we'll try and do what we can with this. I don't think that it's... Despite all I've said, I don't think this deck is, like, it's not a train wreck. It's not awful. There's nothing wrong with it that way, but it just could use a little bit more of, like, permanent removal, or it could have gone into a different build where it would be more tempo-oriented. Going slow and no removal is really the downfall of this deck right now. So we need to cut at least one card, and we can always chop out, like, we can always try and put in another Crushing Canopy, which I'm a fan of in this deck in particular because it does mean that we can deal with some bombs. We can deal with a little bit more of the flyers. We don't have a lot of removal. We have things like Entrancing Melody, which is removal. And then we just have, like, some tempo with Depths of Desire and Perilous Voyage. Pounce is kind of removal. So we've got, like, a few things like that deal with little things. But if we put in the Crushing Canopy, we can deal with a bit of a wider range of stuff because of the fact that there are some flyers that we might have to worry about. So I like the idea of maybe swapping in a second Crushing Canopy. Main deck, it's a bit of a stretch. Let's go take out the Spike-tailed Ceratops. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's only slightly bigger than Prosperous Pirates, and I don't think it's as good. I want to keep the Marauding Looter. I know that's a little bit crazy. We don't have a lot of ways to splash, just the Unknown Shores, but I'll find a way to do it. I really wish we had a New Horizons to go with these Blossom Dryads. I thought the one might wheel, but then we never did get it back, and we never saw anyone after that. Alright, I'm going to go with this. We definitely will want to keep the Crushing Canopy in mind because I think it's going to get sided in a few times. And we'll sort by colors. Add in 3 ways to get the Marauding Looters online. Unknown Shores, 2 mountains. Yeah, I don't know that we can... The big problem is that I don't know that we can afford any more than that. And I'm also going to go and split 7 and 7. And the reason why I want to do that is because we go to converted mana cost. Our green is earlier. So things like Blossom Dryads and Ixalan's Keeper and all these cards that I really want to come down early are green. So if we go 8 and 6 and have a little less forests, we're going to have trouble in the early game, which is already where I'm a little afraid of what our deck is doing. Plus, with Blossom Dryad, like it wants us to have a little more in blue so that we can do things like Entrancing Melody and Marauding Looter later, but Blossom Dryad can fix for that a bit. We can get double island pretty easily by just untapping islands with the Blossom. Alright, that does require us to have a forest though. So I'm going to send it, and we'll do round 1, and hopefully some rounds after that.